It is that time. It's just about that time. The time of season that begins with Thanksgiving and runs to the New Year. Sometimes you almost feel like striking up a song. It's the most. It's the hat. Yeah, so people say, right? So people say. It's that time. And it's this week, starting with Thanksgiving. I'm sure that you've already got some plans in mind for that, right? Anybody here not have any plans in mind already for Thanksgiving? Oh, we got one guy in the back. Okay, we need to talk to his family and then see if we can help him out on this. Usually at Thanksgiving, there are special dishes. I put a few of them up here. You have some kind of special dishes during the holiday season, and especially Thanksgiving, that kind of kicks it off. Dishes that you look forward to, particular foods. You have any? Stuffing, okay. That's good. Various kinds. Cranberry sauce, is that what you said? Okay. Dressing, all right. That's similar to stuffing, right? Similar. Turkey. Some of those are on the table. How about some special dishes maybe that are tradition, that have been handed down to the family or through the family that you have? Pardon me? Mac and cheese, okay. Green bean casserole. What's that? Cheesy potato. Okay. Cinnamon rolls. There you go. We have some of those in our family. My wife on her side had this thing that was a cranberry salad that was like, it had nuts and marshmallows and cheese whipped cream topping, and then she also had a thing that her mom made that was called apple cake, and it was, that was different. We have some in our family, pecan pie. Here, I'll put up a few other dishes just to kind of get you thinking about that. We had pecan pie, cinnamon rolls that Josh mentioned was big by my mom. She was kind of known for that. And my dad had one too. Here, I'll put the pecan pie up there because that was a factor for my mom. Now, my dad had one too that he got handed down. I'll give you the name of it. He had a old country name that he called it. It was called duck blood soup. And it looked like soup that was in kind of, watery chocolate milk. That's kind of what it looked like. You know, there are some dishes that you have that you look forward to, and there are some that are on the table. By the way, I didn't put up a picture of that. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. It was called Nina something. I forget what the name was, but some of them that are just on the table, that because they're on the table and it's that time of year, you kind of do. Some people are that way with turkey, by the way, just because it's that time of year. God has some things on the table for us, and because we come to the holiday, it's kind of good for us to see what God has on the table. I want you to look at it with me here on the table in 1 Peter chapter 3. Would you turn there? 1 Peter chapter 3. Dr. Stewart last week took us into the passages that talk about us having a hope and giving the hope, giving our story, as Ryan related when he talked about how the message hit him, being prepared with that story. And Dr. Stewart exhorted us that it's more than just our story. It is how people get saved, how they come to know Christ. And that, of course, has to be through them understanding the good news of Christ's death, his burial, his resurrection, kind of as Matt related to us in our testimony. Yes, it's our story, and our story in response to that, what Christ did. So he carried on that. I'm going to back you up a couple of verses where he took that up in verse 13. I'm going to back you up to verse 10 here. And I want you to see what God says is on the table. That's good as we look to going into the holiday season. Look with me at verse 10. Because, or for, whoever desires to love life and see good days. This is what's on the table. To love life. I'm going to take a quick survey here. Does anybody want to have a life that you just hate? On the other hand, who would love to have a life that you just love? I just love this. I love this. Well, I want you to know that's what's on the table this morning. And it's especially pertinent as we go into the holiday time. That's what's on the table. You can have a life that you hate. It's on the table. Or a life that you just love. That's what's being spoken about here. How you can so see your life unfold. Because I want you to know God lays the other one out too. He lays out how to have a life that you just straight up. He is just straight up lays out just as clearly as how to love life, how to hate your life. And you know, when I was doing some work on this, how to love your life, how to hate your life, I did a little internet work on it as well. And I am quite frankly very much surprised at how much it is expressed that I hate my life on the net. Not maybe only my life, your life too, maybe, but I hate where my life is. As a matter of fact, I've had people who say to me, stomping their feet like this, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, talking about their life. There are some things in life that lead to that, and that's what the Lord talks to us about. And there are some things in life, so you'll just love it. Now, one thing that I want to note here, kind of as a sidebar note as we do this. Many of us have gone through an academic environment, a school, where they teach you how to make a living. This is what you do. Some of us have had courses that talk about not only how to make a living, but how to live your life. When I was at Kent State University, I lived on the 6th floor in Dowell Hall. It had several floors above us. I lived in 613, and on the very top floor, there was an architect student who jumped out the window and landed on the sidewalk right out in front of our dorm, and he died there. Came out in the university newspaper. This university teaches us how to make a living, but not how to live. That was the very article that came out. Front page. Day after the picture with the ambulance in the white sheet was posted in our newspaper called the Daily Kent Stater. I want you to know this is going to teach you how to live. And unlike the academic community, many times it abstracts from reality. It says we're going to step back and we're going to reduce the number of variables so you can see the changes. If you've been in some disciplines, you know that's what they say to you over and over and over and over. This does not abstract from reality. This deals with all of the variables, and it teaches us how to live a life that you will just love. Now, that sidebar note over, I'm going to step back because I want this to be enjoyable. Because God has given us all things richly to enjoy. God says to us, enjoy life. Ecclesiastes 9:9. As a matter of fact, that's my life verse. And it's my life verse to be a reminder, and it's my life verse to be a goal. Enjoy life, Ecclesiastes 9:9, with the woman whom you love, all the fleeting days of this vain life that He's given you under the sun, for this is your reward in life. And in your labor, wherewith you labor under the sun. God's intent is to enjoy life. I'm going to talk to you about how to love your life or how to just hate it. As a matter of fact, we're going to start with the hate one first. That's why I put that one up here. How to hate your life. Oh, this will be fun. Watch. Because, there's fun here that's in the pursuit. So let's do this one. By the way, I thought I'd put up here a couple of photos that I pulled off when I was online. See this lady here? I hate my life, so I decided to take a picture and post it. She hates her life. This one had a little video there with it. You know, some people hurt themselves by hating their life. This one, you should have seen the video that went with it. The anger concerning what was in his life. Some of these, of course, are kind of dressed up to be pretty. Here's a couple that I found interesting. Dear God, oops, that went too far. Dear God, I hate my life. And this one down here. Inhale love, exhale hate. Well, that's a way to go at life. Inhale love, exhale hate. So let's do this. Let's talk about first, hate your life. Turn with me to a passage in the Old Testament that I've already quoted from. I want you to turn with me to the book of wisdom called Ecclesiastes. It means talking to people. Ecclesiastes. Who wrote Ecclesiastes? Solomon. Now, what credentials did Solomon have from God to write the book of Ecclesiastes? He was the wisest man who ever lived. Second to Jesus, of course, who was God-man. But God dubbed him because of what he sought to be the wisest man who ever lived. That's what God said was his credentials. And you remember the wisdom of Solomon, right? The wisdom of Solomon was even referred to later on. Jesus talked of the wisdom of Solomon. You remember some of the things he did in those situations, right? These two women come before him, one dead child, one living child. And you remember Solomon as he was able to penetrate through to get to the rationality that people had and what they were doing, so it was clear whose child it was. And this is the wisdom of Solomon. It is penetrating wisdom. It is wisdom that is God granted for the purpose that God gave it. Solomon. He's an interesting character. As a matter of fact, when you think of Solomon, there's kind of a dark side. There is an enigma about Solomon, isn't there? There is a foreboding, unknown thing about him. What a handsome dude. At least that's the way he's presented. A handsome dude. smart. As a matter of fact, everything probably somebody on this planet would want to be if they were purely about living on this planet, life under the sun, as Solomon refers to it. He has and he was. He'd been there. He'd done that. Now, I want you to turn with me in Ecclesiastes to chapter 2. And Ecclesiastes chapter 2, Solomon, in this book about wisdom that God gives us, where he steps back and makes observations about life and pass those on to us, Solomon says that he was up to, or he was about, doing this thing. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, look with me at verse 3. I searched with my heart, wisest that ever lived, next to Jesus, how to cheer my body with mind, my heart still guiding me with wisdom, and how to lay hold of what's foolish and silly and doesn't fit, folly, till I might see what was good. This is the good thing for the children of men to do under heaven during the few days of their life. That's what Solomon is going after. That's what Solomon is doing here. Now, I want you to know about the book of Ecclesiastes. I've heard this report that I just got done reading the book of Ecclesiastes and now I'm depressed about life. Can I tell you that the observations about life, he's taking us to wisdom on that. And if you're investing here in these kind of things that he talks about, that he brings depression about, you've got a reason to be depressed. Because it's depressing. It's going to be all gone and empty. That's where he's going. That's where he's going. He's trying to tell you what is good. Some people walk away with being depressed. And if you're depressed, then it could be what you're going after, what you're investing in. On the other hand, if you follow with Solomon, it's like, yes, this is it. We're looking at Solomon for the purpose of saying how to hate life. And let me show you that's where he's going on his bottom line. This is how to hate it. Look at verse 17 of chapter 2. Verse 17, he says this, so I hated life. As a result, quoting commentaries, of all that he said, beginning in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 1, up to this point, he's saying because this is the conclusion of all of that. As a result of all of that, the outcome was, I hated life, because what was done under the sun was grievous to me. It's irritating, it's annoying, it takes me down, it's depressing, for it's all empty. It's all striving after wind. Yesterday was a windy day. Did you know that? Whew. I was outside a bit yesterday. The windy day. I was doing some work. One of the things I was doing is I was at the church shed and I had it open and the wind was coming out of the west yesterday. That's why the cold has come. The wind was coming out of the west and the church door opens and you have to move it towards the west. And I had both of them opened and I was doing some things there and the wind gust brought that door back at me with a great deal of vigor. You know what that means? Yeah. It was fun. And I was standing in front of it. It's a good thing I had a tool in my hand because it caught the tool rather than me when it came back. Like that. The wind. It's a factor, but I couldn't get it to stop. I couldn't catch it and say, get down. Trying to catch the wind is like, well, I get a sail. Well, you can use the wind that way. But try and get the wind to go with you when it's not going. That was a big thing when you tried to sail. You can't capture the wind. What he's telling us is this way of going at life is like to capture the wind. Now, let me give you the thing that's the way he was going at life. I'm going to state it right here. Ecclesiastes 2. Go after seeking pleasure for yourself, regardless. Go after getting the kick for you, regardless. I want you to see that I'm not the one that said that. Solomon says that. Right here, look with me. Ecclesiastes 2, verse 1. Now I said in my heart, I said to myself, I said to my inner man. Do you ever talk to yourself? Do you ever talk to yourself? That's saying in your heart. I said in my heart. Some people apologize to me when I walk up and they're talking to themselves. They feel a little embarrassed talking to yourself. You talk to yourself all the time. When you think inside it, sometimes you just don't verbalize it. Okay? By the way, one person said to me, it's okay if you talk to yourself. I found it's okay if you answer yourself. It's just not okay if you do that and you don't know who's talking. Okay? That's pretty good, isn't it? I thought that was good. As long as we keep in mind who's talking, you're good. You're good. Solomon is talking to himself, and he was the wisest of men. And he said to himself in his heart, he said this, quote, "Come now, my inner man, and I will test you. I'm going to put you through a trial. Here's what I'm going to test you with. I'm going to test you with pleasure. This is what you're going after. Enjoy yourself." He's putting his inner man to a test. And the test is pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. Go after it. Live it up. Enjoy yourself. And what he's doing here is this. He's going after seeking pleasure for himself, regardless. Regardless of what? Well, I think we'll build to that. So how I want to build to that is I want to go through the 10 things that Solomon seeks after to get pleasure, because that's what he does. These are the 10 things I'm going after to really make life, wow, this is living. Good times, good times, good times. I'm telling you, party time. This is how. You know what I'm living for? I'm living for fun. I have people tell me that. You know what I'm living for? I'm living for fun. I want to have a good time. I just want everything to go well. I just don't want to, I don't care, just as long as it goes well. I've had people be angry with me, talking to me as, why do I have to have so much trouble in my life? Why can't it just go well? That's what they're going after, you see? That's what they're living for. They want a life that's pleasure. And I enjoy. That's it. That's all I want. Is that too much to ask? In a fallen world? Is that too much to ask? Let's build here. Let's build to his regardless. Okay? 10 things. 10 things that he goes through. And of course, I can't spend a long time developing these. If you want to develop these, come with me. I will sit down with you, and we will go through Ecclesiastes, and you will find some of the richest counsel you have ever heard. I can do that. I'll offer that. We'll do that. But right now, I kind of need to run through these. Okay? So here we go. 10 things. Here's the first one. Oh, by the way, the outcome we already saw, right? Seek for pleasure for yourself regardless, and the outcome is there. I hated life. Okay, here we go. First one. Doot, doot. There it is. to hate life, so to hate life, you can go after altering your mood with substance. Alcohol is what he refers to. Pastor, you sound like you're making this up for our generation, for our times. You know, kind of pulling the Bible to our day. Well, if you think that, look with me down at verse 2 and 3. I said to myself, laughter, it's madness. Pleasure, it's foolishness. What use is it? Here, this is what I do. I searched with my heart how to cheer my body with wine. You see what he's talking about? I'm going to alter my mood via my body with substance, wine, alcohol. That is a mood-altering drug. That's what that is. That's what that is. As a matter of fact, give wine to him who is dying so he doesn't live in this despair. That's what the wisdom of the Old Testament says. Use medication to manage despair in death and life situation. That's what he says. Here, this isn't a life and death situation. This is, I'm going to alter my mood, cheer my body via this substance. So, he did. What was he after? Kick, party, good time, let him roll. That's what he's after. This is the means. This is how I'll do it. Okay? So, I did this. I searched it out. I still had my heart guided by wisdom and how to lay hold on what doesn't fit, what's folly, what's foolishness, till I might see what is good for the children of men to do all the days of their life. By the way, that's one way among many. I'm going to move this up, and let me put in number 2. Number 2, possessions. A lot of them. Lots and lots and lots. Lots. Let me say this again. Lots! More! That's kind of it. Possessions. Get and get and get and get. I can't go into Proverbs. I would so like to talk about Proverbs and the getting statements that it makes, because it doesn't have getting is all bad. But here, lots. Look what he says. Verse 4. I made great works. I built houses. Not one, plural. Houses. And I planted vineyards. Vineyards is what wine comes from. Vineyards, plural. More than one. For myself. For myself. These are my houses. How many houses does he need? Several. When you're King Solomon. By the way, do you remember that this was Israel's peak ever in all of history of its wealth under Solomon? This was the resounding nation of the world under Solomon in regards to wealth. And he had houses, vineyards. I made gardens, verse 6, and planted parks, and planted in them all kinds of trees. I made pools, verse 6, from which to water those trees. I bet he would even swim in sun. And you think, man, all of that, houses and parks and vineyards, how's he going to maintain all of that? How's he going to keep the upkeep and all that? Well, we'll come to that in a minute. By the way, that is one of the challenges of possessions. Have you noticed that? That you have to keep them up. That you have to go out, and if you got several houses, you got several houses to clean, and you got several houses to mow the lawn for, and several houses to paint the windows on, and several houses to fix the electrical thing that didn't work. And of course, they didn't have electrical things, but they still
had maintenance. We'll talk about how he approached that in a little bit. Right now, look at verse 7. Last part. First part talks about the maintenance thing. Last part says this: I also had great possessions of herds and flocks. I had great possessions, more than anyone who had been before me in Jerusalem. Lots. Possessions. That's what I went for. Lots. Lots. Live for what you can buy next. What's the next item on the list? What do I get to get next? Live for that. Live for that. That's what Solomon talks about here, possessions. Oh, and by the way, be controlling. Controlling of your world and the people in it, because this is how he maintained it. Look at this, verse 7, first part. He said this: I bought, B-O-U-G-H-T, I owned them, male and female slaves. Slaves were born to my house. I had servants, I had people that were my slaves. I was so controlling, I told them what to do, and they did it. I went, how to hate life? Be controlling of people and situations. I mean, like you own them. I own you. Solomon. Let me move this up. And let me add a fourth here. Money. Money focus. This is how, remember what he's going for. He's going for pleasure. He's going for enjoying it. He's going for getting a kick. This is what he's testing his inner man with. This is what he's trying to find out. And the answer is money. It's money. Did you hear that? Money. How much money is enough? Rockefeller said, just a little more. That's what, it's always more. Okay, so let's look at it here. Verse 8, I also gathered for myself, this is for me now, I gathered silver and gold and the treasure of kings and provinces, the wealth of other areas and regions. I brought it to me. I brought it to me. That's how I do it. That's where life is. It's all in the money. Honey, it's in the money. So he sought. And let me add another fifth. I just want you to know that he wasn't all materialistic. He was into education too. Slide up with me to verse 1. Chapter 1, verse 6. He said this: I said in my heart, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were before me in Jerusalem. And the fact of the matter is, that was not brag with no fact. It was true. It was true. He acquired wisdom that was beyond everybody, and my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. I applied my heart to know wisdom and to know what was madness and what was foolish and what didn't fit. And I perceived that all of this was striving after the wind, for in much wisdom there is much vexation, and when you increase in knowledge, you increase in sorrow, and it wasn't there. Education and the accolades of education, that's where it is. That's where it is. And I want you to know, a lot of people make this their life. Where does it go? Goes to verse 17. Let's move these up and add this. 16. Okay, not music. This education thing, it's just not for me. I'm more of a free spirit. And I get the rhythm and the arts. So let's see what he did in this realm. Okay? So I got singers, both male and female. The parks were beautiful. The Temple of Solomon was unsurpassed ever. The only time it'll be surpassed is in the millennial kingdom when Jesus comes and rules. That's the only time Solomon's temple will ever be surpassed. Has anybody ever seen the inside of the top floor of Trump Tower in New York City? I've seen some photos of that. 14-karat gold interlay on clear white marble. I don't know if it's Trump Tower or one of the things, but this is nice. This is nice. Okay? It's nice. Am I dissing him for that? No, I'm not. If he can earn it and afford it, guess what? Buy it. Keeps the economy going. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. I tell you, I can't afford. The only way I'm going to see it is on the internet with pictures. Let me tell you, this Trump, he's trying to imitate what, Louis XIV, I think it was? That's what he was trying to reproduce, Louis XIV. Let me tell you, he doesn't compare to Solomon. Solomon was wealthier than Trump. Yeah. Music and arts and education, he was into that too, beyond the education. And by the way, this one is really big. And I want you to know, this is the one that nailed Solomon. This pursuit of pleasure is the one that tagged him. This is the one that corrupted his wisdom. This is the one that took him down. This is the one that made Solomon the enigma. Are you ready for it? He didn't not tell us about it because he tells us about it because in God's wisdom, he didn't let him off the hook. And this is for you and I. Are you with me? Okay, here it is. Verse number 8. Last words of the verse. I got not only singers and men and women, I got many concubines. You know what a concubine is? This is a mistress in the full sense of the word. And I had many mistresses. And by the way, I'm going to tell you how many, because they're numbered. He had to have a directory. There were so many. There's so many players on the field. How do you keep them all on track? Here, count them, number them. That's what they do in a football game. There's so many people running around. Put a number on them. He numbered them. I'm going to tell you the number. I'm going to show you the number because it's right out of the scriptures. It tells us the number. And by the way, when he talks about this, concubines, I want you to see the phrase he uses. And by the way, I am not making this up. This is what the scriptures say. Many concubines, and he says about the concubines, the delights of the sons of men. What is that saying? It's like, I am liking this. That's what that's saying. What that's saying. Okay? So, that one, sexual sensuality, this was the big one for Solomon. Because this is the one that tagged him. This is the one that he didn't keep his wisdom on. This is the one that took him down. This is the one that made Solomon the enigma that he is. Here, let me show it to you. This is big for him. 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 3. And he had 700 wives as princesses. 700. You know, I have one. And that's enough. And it's not because it's a challenge, though we challenge each other. But it's enough. But he didn't end with 700 wives. He had 300 concubines. You know, and I thought some of the players in American history were kind of big. And look at this. And his wives turned his heart away. That's what got him. For it was so when Solomon was older that his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not loyal to the Lord his God, as was the heart of his father David. That's the next verse that follows him having 700 wives, 300 mistresses, in the full sense of that word. And it turned his heart away. And here's why it turned away. This chapter starts, verse 1. This chapter starts, verse 1, by saying, Solomon loved foreign women. I like the different skin shades. I like the different eyes, the different hair colors. I like this. Eye colors. You know, some of the Oriental ones have these are the ones, right here. And he lists out. Sounds like he's shopping. And it turned his heart away because Solomon builds for them to offer sacrifices and worship their gods. And his heart went away from God. That's why Solomon is the dark-sided enigma that he is. Let's come back. I've got a few more to add, and I'm just going to put these in here really quick. Status, that was big. Verse 9. Verse 9, he says, I became greater and I surpassed all who were in Jerusalem before me. I had status. No king compared to me. Living large, verse 10. Living large, indulgent life, and whatever my eye desired, I did not keep from it. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all my toil, and that was my reward in all my toil. And then I looked at all of this, I considered all of this, and behold, it was empty. Verse 11, it was empty. All of this was empty. It was trying to capture the wind, which was so elusive and I couldn't control, and there was nothing to gain from it in all my life under the sun. Living large didn't do it. So because living large didn't, I went into the philosophical life. I'm going to back off this thing, and I'm going to reevaluate this. Look what Solomon said. Verse 2. Verse 12, because all of that was true, I changed my direction, and I turned to consider wisdom and madness and folly. For what can the man who comes after this king me, do? Only what I've already done. And then I saw that there was more wisdom, that its gain was more than doing what didn't fit. It was like being in a room and having the lights on and the lights off. You have the light on, you got wisdom to guide you. If you have the lights off, it's like being without wisdom and fooling. Yeah, the wisdom is better than the fool, but here's the deal. Verse 15, they both die. And that's grievous to me. So I hated life. Pastor, I thought you said we're going to enjoy this. I want you to enjoy it this way. Those things don't do it. If you go for them regardless of what? Do you notice how many times he said, I did this for myself. I did this for myself. I took from other kings. I took from other provinces. I've gathered it all for myself. And regardless of other people, when it's about me, regardless of other people, when it's all about me, when it's all about what makes me happy, what gives me an enjoyment, regardless, that's when you will hate life. That is when. That is where it will take you. Where you have some high peaks where he said he had that. I had some where I was, and really, it was like empty. Have you ever opened a can of pop? You're thirsty, pop it open, and you tip it up, and there's nothing in it? Usually you know it ahead of time because the can is light. Have you ever gotten an empty pop can, all sealed up and everything, and you get it and it's empty? Go ahead and crack that baby when you're thirsty and just chug it down, and you're going to get nothing because it's empty. And he's telling you now that can is empty. The can that you got is empty. With all of those things, they're empty. Crack them open, guzzle them down. There's nothing in it. Won't satisfy. It's empty. Wow. Can't be. What else can we do? You can look at life not considering yourself, but other people. You can go at it considering other people. And that's where Peter takes us. So how to love life. Go with me to 1 Peter. That's where he takes us. 1 Peter 3. This is where he takes us. I want you to look with me at 1 Peter 3. And as you look here, I want you to see what consideration comes in of other people. Look with me. Verse 10. Whoever wants to love life, I want to love it, to just love it, and see good days. Let him, and he says 3 things here. Let him, concerning other people, your tongue from evil, concerning other people, your lips from deceiving them, concerning other people, turning away from what does harm, do what's beneficial to them, other people. Here's the last one. Seek peace with other people and pursue it. Here, this is it. Go this way with people in your life. With people in your life. Go this way. And he talks about everything a person can do. And he lists it out here. This is everything. Colossians 3:17, whatever you do in word or deed, there's actually 3 things that a person can do. 3 things that have impact concerning what a person can do. There's a 4th that I'm going to mention, but there are 3 things. According to the scriptures, you can do these 3 things. You can think, you can speak words, and you can do particular actions. Acts of kindness. This is all that humanity has in their repertoire of what they can do. They can think, they can speak, and they can act on something. Colossians 3:17, you can take a look at that. That's all. You can think about, you can speak about, you can do something. You can act on something. There is another one that you can do. And this is important. That's why I'm going to talk about it. You can feel. You can have emotions, right? You have feelings. But feelings are followers. Feelings are followers of what you think, what you say, and what you do. Your feelings are followers. They're following what you think, what you say, and what you do. Sometimes people get into trouble because their feelings lead them. Let me give you an example of this. John, who just moved to Boston for good reasons, came to see me in the office just before he left. If you remember, there were a couple of weeks that he couldn't be here because he had things that he had to tie up where he was down in Bloomington before he went to Boston. And he stopped in just for a minute to see me before he left. And I walked around and I talked to him. I was standing out in the waiting room. And as we were talking, we were talking about it going. And all of a sudden, I started to break up. And I don't do that, okay? Because I am Superman. The wind's supposed to blow through my hair right there. My cape's supposed to go. And I broke up. And it broke up so bad. Dr. Stewart was standing off behind over there, and I was standing out in the waiting room talking to John, and good thing that it was just John, me, and Hope, and the waiting room is empty. I'm kind of glad about that. That way nobody knows, and I'm not telling. Yes, I am telling. And I broke up, and I broke up so bad that Hope said that, well, this is awkward.
Yeah, and now I could have done this. John, don't go. I like having John around. I like having all my kids around. It's good. He was going for a purpose. But that's where my emotions went. And if I would have let my emotions lead, I would have been stupid and doing stupid stuff. So what I did was I told him the reason he needed to go, and I was glad that he was doing this, and it encouraged him, because my thoughts and my speaking and my acting went in line with what was best, what was reasonable. We get in trouble when our feelings lead us. We have to take them to our mind, and we have to speak there. And we have to act there. And I'm going to do this act right now. I'm going to stop right here. Because it's a holiday, and I want you to get wherever you're going next on time, and us to leave on time, and get our janitor out on time, and I want time to talk about how to love life. Thought, words, and deeds. I could just punch the button. I'm going to stop. Because it's best. Stop it.